Hi, I'm Kent, and I have a question. What can't you do? A lot of people have noticed it, and you're probably no exception, but it is getting a little bit ridiculous that at this point in 2020, we don't have flying cars yet. Movies and shows kind of promised us that we would, certainly by now, but we don't. And the guy who founded PayPal, his name is Peter Thiel, he kind of famously said, we were promised flying cars, instead, we got 140 characters. It's true, isn't it? Not a lot of science fiction predicted something like Twitter. They all were predicting flying cars, and that's what we have, for better or for worse. And it makes a certain amount of sense, don't you think, that we have Twitter and we don't have flying cars? Yeah, and how many people can you think of who would wreak absolute havoc if they had a flying car? And now, thinking of those exact same people, for how many of them were you kind of upset when Twitter changed its character limit from 140 to 280 characters? Maybe, at least in a lot of cases, we get what we can responsibly handle, and we don't get what we can't. Toward the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, who was the wisest person ever to live, makes what seems at first to be a pretty disheartening observation. He says this: "When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, people getting no sleep day or night, then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning. Even if the wise claim they know, they cannot really comprehend it." That's the end of his quote. So what can't you do? Well, the more you think about it, the more you realize that the answer is a lot. Most things, actually. And so today in the Spotlight, we want to give each other permission to talk about how much of our human restlessness comes from believing the lie that we should be able to do anything and everything. Whatever we put our hands to, we ought to be able to get it done. Blah, blah, blah. Because the truth is that we are limited. And that's okay. You know what Solomon says right after he says that kind of disheartening statement? He says this. He says, "So I reflected on all this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands." You are limited, but you're in the hands of the one who is not. So take a deep breath. You don't have to be so restless about all this stuff all the time.